the last movie that I've seen is a new release. It's only come out today in the UK.
Oh, and Liam, what a wait it's been. Am I right?
Yes. Oh, I was worried. I didn't know if they could continue this franchise after what happened in the last film. But
And to be honest, Liam, they probably shouldn't have. Not because of that, just because it's too many films at this point.
it's not, though.
It is.
It's not, because I looked back, right?
You can't see because you're too in it, mate.
That's true. So, just so the audience can get on board, we're
No.
talking...
I want to talk about this film without mentioning the name. No, go on.
We're talking about The Fate of the Furious, which is the 8th entry in the Fast and Furious. Like Power Rangers, it has no right to be as good as it still is 8 entries in.
And just to be... I haven't seen it, so I'm not saying it's not great,
Yeah.
but you do love Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, so here's the thing.
So, like, I'm just letting the listeners know that you might be not biased.
Yeah.
I know you could see if it was bad, but you do love the franchise.
It is biased, and I think it's important when doing like reviews of things to explain where you're coming from, because I think that helps people understand. Like, while I'm saying I really like it for these reasons, these are the reasons that appeal to me. That's not necessarily going to be a recommendation to other people to also go and enjoy it in that way.
I don't like this, Liam. We're being too reasonable.
I know. The thing is that like my Achilles' heels when it comes to film is obviously coming of age, and then the next thing for some reason is just car chases. I fucking love a good car chase.
Okay.
And
yeah.
Fast and Furious, like car chases and just silly ridiculous stunts where you're like, there's no way one person can do that and live, but holy shit, it's so much fun seeing it on screen anyway.
Yeah, I mean, in the trailer, doesn't someone do? I think Dom. I know his name. He doesn't he? Like do a sort of a slide or a skid, but whilst in the air, like behind a rock. I think in the trailer there's a scene where he does that.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's the big thing in the trailer. That,
is the submarine that fires torpedoes along the ground, but they're not torpedoes, they're missiles, and it's all very confusing. And then fucking the Rock grabs hold of a torpedo and aims it at someone.
Yes,
yeah.
And so we're talking about this level of absurdity with the stunts, and that one is going to kind of give you an indication if you're on board with this sort of film or not. If you look at that and you're like, that's ridiculous, you would hate this film. But for me, I'm like, that's insane and it's hilarious, and I'm 100% on board. And that's, I think, what's interesting about this kind of franchise is the first film was this kind of, I don't want to say realistic, but it was rooted in...
It's not as ridiculous.
Yeah, it's rooted in street racing, and it's essentially about, I think, like thieves, basically, like a gang of thieves. And the second one, Vin Diesel doesn't come back, and it goes more down a drug sort of route. The second one, in my humble opinion, is the weakest of the series so far. But every single entry, so including 1, skip 2, and then 3 onwards, for me, it's been a solid 3.5 out of 5, with the exception of Fast 5, which was a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
And The Fate of the Furious keeps that up. It's another 3.5 out of 5. Super fun. So the 7th entry, the last film, right? It was good, and I feel like it was... There was a lot going on outside of the screen that made it so important, I think. Obviously, with Paul Walker passing away, and then them essentially making the film as a tribute to him. But the issue I had with it is they had The Rock in like the first bit, then he breaks his arm, and they sideline him all the way till the end of the film.
Does the character break his arm?
Yeah. So
really?
Yeah, exactly.
Was that their way of... Was The Rock doing something else?
I think it was something like that. There was like scheduling conflicts or something going on.
That feels like such a weird way of doing it.
I know, and it was a real shame because he is a highlight, 100%.
Yeah.
I think he was introduced in the 5th film and is a big reason why that got 4 out of 5. This one, he has a much bigger part, and I was delighted. The only slight issue is he's a bit of a badass in the previous films. In this one, they start taking a bit too down the like comedy relief route.
Oh, okay.
But honestly, like Dwayne Johnson just sells that. So he looks like he's having a blast. I'm having a blast watching him having a blast. It's all good. Vin Diesel even gets to do a bit of acting in this one, and he pulls it off.
I like Vin Diesel.
I like Vin Diesel, but when I think of good actors, he's not top of the list.
He played Riddick in Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah, did that require a lot of acting, or did that require him
he
basically being
was a man
quiet?
who could see really well in the dark, Liam.
Okay.
Imagine how hard that is if you can't see very well in the dark.
I can't. For me,
Exactly.
that would have been really good acting. Maybe he's got very good night vision.
You're like the opposite of Riddick from Chronicles of Riddick.
And Vin Diesel, if we're going to be honest.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
But yeah, it was So I didn't think continuing the franchise without Paul Walker. Wasn't sure how that would work, but I think this has been good enough that I'm on board for the next 2 films that I think have been greenlit.
See, I think that's pretentious. Greenlight, not just for them. I find it annoying when anyone greenlights like 2 films ahead.
Yeah, but even if like the next one,
if the next one's shit, they'll lose a lot of. But that's what. If it is shit, then it shouldn't be allowed a pass just because they've done a bunch of good films. Do you know what I mean?
I get that, but equally, because they've had such a good track record so far, if the next one is shit, I would still have faith that they could pull it around for the last one. And then, obviously, if the next 2 are shit, then yeah, knock it on the head. But I would say if you've done like 7 out of 8 consistently good films, you're allowed another bad one. Obviously, I hope they don't, but I would forgive them.
I hope they do, just so we can see what your reaction is.
If I could just end my review with this,
no,
I would like to say that I think there's enough gas in the tank for a few more outings yet.
Was that something they say in the film?
No, it's just like a car reference, isn't it? Gas in the tank.
Jesus, fucking hell. Yeah, sure.
I forgot to mention one bit as well. Just to give you an idea, the very first like stunt, if you will, in this film is basically Vin Diesel doing a street race. Okay, because we've got to take it back to our roots.
Are they pretending they're still street racers then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that street race ends with Vin Diesel driving a car in reverse because the front of the car is on fire and he can't see out of the windshield because it's on fire.
Of course.
So he drives in reverse. Oh, it's just so good. It's so ridiculous, but so good. Like, at this point, the characters are essentially superheroes. Like, their superpowers are good driving and surviving ridiculous stunts.
I don't know if you realise how ridiculous the superpower of good driving sounds.
But if you see them in this film, I feel like I've got a point.
Yeah, no. I 100% know what you're talking about. It just sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. But yeah, 3.5 out of 5. Like, just solidly entertaining.
Fair enough.